had to pay my dues there, and I had to earn a lot of respect from other coaches in the field, officials, all of those things. And, once I was able to form solid relationships there, it really helped with my transition into the business side of things.
Welcome to Off the Memory Card, the podcast where photographers talk about everything but taking photos, because photography is only 10% photos and 90% building a life and business you love. I'm Kathleen Burns. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to Off the Memory Card. I'm Kathleen, and today we're starting something new, something I'm really excited about. A little bit of a series, if you will. I want to start interviewing other photographers who are truly excelling in certain areas. And my hope is that if you are a photographer who is looking to maybe niche down or do more work in one of these areas, that these episodes will inspire you, that they'll motivate you, kind of give you some guidance and lead you in the right direction. So we're starting off with an incredible photographer, someone who is really making a name for herself in the world of sports photography, and someone I have known for 20 years, Miss Kristina Gore. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to see you again, Kathleen.
It has been a minute. I'm really excited to see you too. So I do want to kind of rewind a little bit. We're going to go back 20 years. Of how we met each other. I'm a little older. I was in college. I think you're still in high school. And when I would come home for the summer, I worked at the local country club, and you also worked there. And that's kind of how we met.
Right. And I, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were a senior when I was a freshman. So I kind of knew who you were. You were a big deal. I was not so much. So I knew who you were, but it was really, really cool to get to know you, after you were already at Marshall and working the summers at the country club. It was a lot of fun.
Well, I don't know about the whole big deal thing, especially you not being a big deal, because girl, you are now. I love seeing your work. It's interesting. About a year or two ago, I guess, I would be scrolling through social media and I would see parents who I grew up with from our hometown posting pictures of their kids, mainly sports pictures. And I was like, these are incredible. And my husband, who is also a photographer, we would be looking at these together and just like chin dropping, like they were so good. And I know of a few other photographers from your neck of the woods that do amazing work. And it wasn't from them. This was from someone I had not heard of, CKG Graphics. And I was like, who is behind this? Like, they're on fire. And so one day, I forget how, but it just clicked. And I like screamed with excitement. I was like, it's Kristina. My husband was like, what? I was like, CKG Graphics is a girl I used to be like best friends with. And so I was finally able to put it together, and I'm in awe over your work.
Well, I truly appreciate that. But you're right. There's a lot of other photographers in the area that do super great work. And, honestly, they've been a great resource to me and a great help to me, not just here locally in Logan County, but also in the Charleston area with the Haas Media. Chris has been awesome. He's actually the person who gave me the confidence to like, hey, you can do off-camera flash. You got this, girl, go for it. And he's been a great sounding board for me. Dylan Vidovich down here, I have a great relationship with him. Just so many of you guys that on social media, like it feels so great to have that supportive environment. So I think that, I'm just so thankful for that. I can't say that enough. And just to hear your words, say that about, my work after seeing the stuff that you and Jeremy do and you put out, like it just blows my mind to even hear you say it.
I do feel like we're so blessed to live in the area that we live in. And I truly hope that all areas are like this, where photographers can just collaborate, give words of encouragement, help one another. And I love to hear you say that about Haas Media and about Dylan. I love Dylan. I get to run into him occasionally. It's been a while, but yeah, he does a great job. Let's go back again though. So 20 years ago when we were working together, I don't think either one of us had even considered getting into the world of photography. What was your game plan at that time?
20 years ago, I was, about to graduate high school. I was, going to Marshall to play golf. And I mean, that was kind of my plan. I knew I wanted to be an education major, but photography hadn't really clicked for me yet. I did buy a camera like my senior year of college, and I piddled around a little bit for fun, like a hobby, but it wasn't until later that it kind of clicked that this could be a direction that I go business wise.
So how did that happen? Walk me through that. Like, where did you get to the point where you're like, oh, I can do this?
Right. Well, you kind of have to go to the CKG part. So the people ask me, what's the C stand for? Well, it's coach.
I was curious about that, actually.
Right. Yeah. So it's, coach, Kristina Gore, Chris Gore, whatever.
Okay.
People call me a lot of different things. But I was the head coach of our local basketball team here in Chapmanville. And it was really important to me to like elevate the experience for, not only our players, but our fans, our community. And a huge part of that is marketing. So I wanted to make sure that our greens were marketed like to the best level possible. I tried to make it like a true collegiate experience almost. So that involved me going and buying a camera. And, from there, I used it to, take photos of our girls. Like my husband would do the action shots. We would do like media day style shoots so I could make graphics. And then it just kind of blossomed from there. Other coaches and other teams started reaching out like, hey, how are you doing this? And then eventually I realized, there could be something here. So that's kind of how it started.
Oh, I love that. The beginning of your story, it's truly a labor of love. Like this was never something you thought, I'm going to make money doing this. You were doing this for your team and your community.
Yeah, it was 100% just to try to make our program and not just our girls basketball program, but I tried to help elevate, other programs within our school as well. And we have another photographer at our school, Holly Eldridge, who also, takes photos as well and does a great job. So we were both out there just trying to help put Chapmanville on the map a little bit.
Well, I think you've done a great job with that. How did it kind of transition, I guess, from hobby, doing this for your own team, to what it has become today? I mean, you are working with teams all over the area, different sports. I mean, you're everywhere.
Yeah, it grew quite a bit, but it actually started with a great friend over at Scott High School. This is my 4th year working with him, Chris Barrett. He was actually in my wedding, mine and Jaren's wedding, and he coaches the baseball team there, and he was interested in marketing his team in the same way. So I put together a package for him of how we could go about doing that. So the Scott Skyhawks baseball team gave me my first shot. And then from there, it went on to a great friend in Summers County, Chad Metter. He knew the football coach by the name of Josh Evans, and he was interested as well. We had a great conversation at the girls basketball state tournament in 2023. And before I knew it, I was on board and making a lot of trips to Hinton to market their football program. And that one really put me out there a lot. And then from there, just the messages kind of started pouring in.
So that's another thing I kind of love about your story, is that it's the exact opposite of most photographers. Most of us get into photography for photography, and then we kind of find something that we love about it and start niching down. But I feel like it's, complete opposite for you. You started in the sports world and you've actually been able to branch out. I think it's safe to say sports is still your bread and butter. It probably always will be, but you do offer more than that now. Talk about that a little bit.
I do. And a lot of that I think it came with the relationships that I was able to build with the athletes and their parents, because, not only are their athletes, they're students, they're getting ready to graduate, they want senior photos, or they're going to prom. And those weren't necessarily things I was super interested in doing at first. But as I got a little more into the technical aspects of photography, understood the light a little bit better, I thought, these could be some pretty cool shots too. And that's been amazing. Love to do the senior shoots. And I love to travel. Had the opportunity to travel a little bit and do some shoots. So that's just been fantastic.
Not just travel, you have traveled pretty far. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so actually Evie Altizer, she's actually on the CKG Graphics team. I have a great staff of 5 young ladies, and she wanted to go. Her family surprised her with a trip to Europe, and they let me tag along as her photographer. So we spent some time in Switzerland and France. We ended up in Paris, and just my love of travel and getting to take photos, just like merging into one, has just been like, dream come true. So I'm kind of hoping to eventually go in that direction a little bit.
No, that's incredible. And I love how humble you are about that. You're like, oh, I just kind of tagged along where I'd be like, yes, I was hired to go to Europe.
Yeah,
What
it
was
was a
your
great
favorite part of that? What was your favorite photography aspect of that trip?
I mean, honestly, I think that it was just the different landscapes. Yeah, Switzerland, especially just the mountains, the snow. There was one particular shot that we got of Evie on a cliff walk in Grindelwald, and the sun was just kind of peeking through a little cutout in the mountain, and it's just like, that's the same sun that we see here, but a completely different, backdrop, and just the compositions and things that you can work with in different places that you see. It just blows my mind.
I love that. And it's so clear that like you truly know your work, like you know your art, just hearing you talk. And I did go off a little topic because I just wanted to hear about Europe. So we'll kind of take it back to sports now. What are well, actually, we'll get to in a minute some of the different challenges you face, but I want to start with one in particular. And I don't know how challenging it was for you because you are so athletic and you've always been ingrained into the sports world. But I think a lot of women who want to get into sports photography are intimidated because it is the one area of photography that is still pretty dominated by men. What was that like for you?
Yeah, for me, you are right. It's a little bit different because I was already somewhat ingrained. But I'm going to say that a lot of my dues were paid in my case through the coaching part, and that was once I entered that arena. That's also a mostly male dominated field, but we're getting a lot more female coaches out there, which I think is great. But I had to pay my dues there, and I had to earn a lot of respect from other coaches in the field, officials. All of those things. And, once I was able to form solid relationships there, it really helped with my transition into the business side of things. But it is just about making sure that you are yourself. You don't try to be someone else, and just having confidence that you know what you're doing. If you know anything about sports, whether you're an athlete or not, maybe you're a fan, and you've learned about the game, you understand the emotions of the game, what to look for, you can do this. You don't have to be an athlete to be a sports photographer.
I think that's great advice, just paying your dues. I think so many people expect instant gratification, instant success, and that's usually not the case, especially in a situation like yours where you are a woman heading into the sports world. I think you did become successful very quickly, probably a lot faster than most would, but I think patience is just needed for anyone. But I also just loved your advice of being yourself. I think that's where a lot of people get caught up, is they think they need to put on this certain kind of persona and be this person in order to gain respect and be successful, but that's not the case. And I think you're amazing proof of that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So let's dive a little deeper into the world of sports photography, because you do both action shots and portraits. What's your favorite?
That's a really tough question because I know what is my husband's favorite. And his is definitely, the sports portraits. Sometimes I call them sportraits. You kind of cram it
Oh,
together.
I love that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. Those definitely are, financially the most beneficial, especially when you're booking leagues and doing a lot of volume work. But the action shots to me are probably the most fun, and I truly don't get the time to do those as much as I would like. But you don't know what's going to happen. It's not scripted. You do have to, really work on your positioning and understanding what may happen. And just trying to capture the story as it's unfolding, and the emotion and the passion behind it is probably my favorite.
I can see that. I'm definitely not a sports photographer and never will be, but I feel like if I was, I would really love the action shots, because I think because I have a journalistic background, I love the in the moment, the storytelling, and I think that's amazing. So you mentioned your husband. Do you all work together?
We do actually. Jaron actually took the bulk of the action shots for me, especially this winter. I had a lot of teams in winter sports that, I would be going on a shoot, and we bought a second body this year so that he could go and do the action shots, and he does a tremendous job at that. And we're in the process of maybe working on, teaching him how to edit a little bit and do some of those other computer-based things. But he does an amazing job anytime I send him out. And he also has a great relationship, with the athletes and their families. So I trust him completely.
Well, that's awesome. And that's something else that you and I have in common that I didn't even realize, because with Jeremy and I working together, I will say, as he gets more involved with his other job, because he's not a full-time photographer like me, he has had to kind of take a step back. And so I've been doing a lot more of it on my own, which I love for him, but it's kind of sad because and I'm sure you kind of feel the same. Sometimes working together, it's sort of like a date night sometimes, because with everything else going on in the world, sometimes it's just a good time to kind of reconnect, and it's fun.
Yeah, it really can be. And we've actually done a couple of games together where we've been covering, two teams at once. And that's been really cool. There'll be different types of shots that we're after. We'll tag team it. He might be going wide angle and I'm going a little, closer in for a certain type of mood. And we work really well together and play well off of each other doing that.
Kind of a well-oiled machine.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all ever competitive with each other? I know Jeremy and I are sometimes. If we take a similar shot, we're like, oh, I like this better about mine.
Yeah, we get really excited, if we think that we got like, oh, this is the shot of the game or whatever. And I'll have to say he's been coming through on those. I'm gonna have to send you some of his best work.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
So I know there's a huge difference between the action shots and the sportraits, as you call them. And of course, a lot of that is lighting. And a lot of photographers are intimidated by lighting. And I understand why, because it is cumbersome. It takes a long time to learn. It can be frustrating. What was that like for you? What was your experience with learning lighting?
Yeah, and again, I gotta go, back to Chris at Haas Media for this because, he gave me the confidence to go out there and give it a go. So I started with 2 Westcott strobes, and from now I'm up to 4. I feel like it's not been until this past year that I feel a lot more confident and comfortable in my lighting, especially like my rim lighting and all of that. I still feel like I've got a lot to learn and it's a little bit of a work in progress. But making that step was big. And it can set you apart if you learn how to master that. And again, I'm there by no means, but it's definitely something I'm glad that I did. And I'm thankful to Chris for pushing me to take that step.
You really are so humble. And I hope that you always keep that, because I can tell that the confidence you mentioned, how much it's grown for you over the past year. I see it in your work. And, you definitely don't strike me as someone who even be intimidated by it or think, oh, I'm not where I need to be. But I think that's a great thought process to have. I think we should always be evolving and growing and trying to get better. So I love that you have that mindset of always wanting to learn more and do more.
Yeah, definitely. I'm never truly satisfied with anything that I do because I always feel like it could be a little bit better. I'm probably my own worst critic, but that's also the trait of an athlete. We always want to strive to be better.
And I think that's what makes you so great, is you are an athlete and you're able to connect in a way with your clients that most people would not be able to.
Yeah, I get that. You've been there, you know what they're going through, and you also understand, for me, like when I'm taking these portraits or action shots or whatever, especially the posed work that we do, I want that athlete to shine through that image. I want to represent them in a way that they're proud of, that really showcases what they're about, how much they love their sport and all the hard work that they put into it.
So let's talk a little more about the portrait sessions. So as I mentioned, I'm not a sports photographer. There have been a couple of situations where people we know, like other clients who have used us for other things, have reached out to us in a pinch saying, hey, we really need someone to do some team and individual photos. Can you help us out? So there have been a few instances where we've done stuff like that. And I will say, like, we enjoyed it for the most part. It's not something I can do full time or would even promote that we do. And I think one of the biggest challenges for me was it's so fast paced, and you have all these parents who want very customized creative things, which I think is easy to do with an individual session, but not so much when you have a team of 20 to 30 athletes. Is that something that you find has been difficult to navigate?
It can be, but I really want to brag on my staff for this because I would not be able to do the volume work that we do, without our team. So I just want to shout them out. Maddie Farley, Evie Altizer, Ashton Alderman, Taylor Smith, Morgan Farley is actually transitioning into the team. She's Maddie's little sister, but the first 4 girls I mentioned are all seniors at Chapmanville. And whenever we go on a shoot, you talk about a well-oiled machine, it's them. So we have, someone at the table, taking care of sign-in, answering questions for parents. And then I usually have 1, sometimes 2 girls, depending upon how big the shoot is. We've got the athletes in a line. We're talking to them about poses and things that they may like before they even step in, for their time. And those girls really, they're just so well spoken. They have, just great people skills. And it's really, working, for me, it has helped them develop that as well. They already had a base, but just seeing them grow in that and working with the public, working with people, to be able to pull off, as many kids as we do in one day, it's just tremendous. They make my job a lot easier.
What a blessing for both you and for them. I mean, here you are. How long have you been doing photography? How many years?
I think that I bought my first camera to actually start doing this for the girls in 2023.
Okay, so you've been at this 3 years, and you are already mentoring the next generation.
I appreciate that. It's, I had mentors in my life that have helped me, and just paying it forward. I think that's just part of my job. It's part of the teacher in me as well. And they're just great kids. So let's talk
about that a little bit too. While you do photography full time, it is not your only full time job. You are a coach and a teacher. You are juggling. Like, you have a lot of things up in the air right now. You wear many hats. Let's chat about that a little bit more. What's that like?
It's a lot, and it's a lot right now. This winter I did take a step back from coaching basketball, and then around the middle of February, something that I didn't really expect. I've had the opportunity to help with our high school softball team as well. So I'm an assistant coach there, and I've not been around softball for 20 years. So I mean, that's been fun. I enjoyed when I played, and I believe it might have been your senior year of high school. You graduated in 2004.
I did.
Right? Okay, we won the state title that year, so a little plug in right there.
Yeah, I remember that.
It has been it's been a lot of hats. It's a lot to juggle. This spring has been it's been a lot. It's been a little bit cumbersome. There's not many open days to just kind of relax and do things I would like to do at home. So I'm looking forward to summer and hopefully finding a little bit of a better balance heading into next school year.
What advice do you have for other people, especially photographers who do find themselves wearing many hats? Because that is a pretty common thing in the world of photography, especially for those who are trying to navigate, like, do I want this to be my main job? Like, do I want to keep doing other things? What advice do you have for that one?
I think you have to learn how to say no, and I'm struggling with that one. It's really hard because you don't want to pass up on potential opportunities, and then you also don't want to say no to clients that you've built tremendous relationships with and have been so good to you. You want to try to make time for everybody, but at some point I'm going to have to learn to make a little bit of time for myself. And that's probably the biggest piece of advice.
And that is probably the best advice. I know it's the piece of advice I give all the time. It took me a long time to learn that as well. And even now, I know a couple of episodes ago, I did one on people pleasing, and I learned, we're doing that episode. I still do it. I'm 11 years into this career, and sometimes it is still hard to say no, but it also starts to feel good after a while. Like, once you get the hang of it, you're like, oh, I kind of got a little bit of my life back by not agreeing to do something else. All right, so I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about, what is your favorite sport to photograph?
Probably a sport I don't get to photograph very much, and that's golf. Mainly just because, gorgeous golf courses outside. The lighting is a lot easier, to deal with. It's a little bit slower paced, so you have time to position yourself well, for the shots. So it's a little bit easier. So I would probably have to say golf for those reasons.
Do you feel like that's something you do hope to do more of in the future?
Yeah, I mean, sure, I could definitely see that.
What are some other things that you would maybe like to branch out and do some more of?
I really senior shoots. I love, especially when you tie like the sports into it. But also sometimes when you don't. I went on a destination session also to the Biltmore. It was the first one that I did with Ashton Alderman, another girl that works for me, and we just had a tremendous time. Obviously, just a gorgeous location. And when we did that one in August, I think that once we put her images out there, and she's just obviously she's gorgeous and she shines. She's so photogenic. When we put out there what we did with her, I really started to get a lot more inquiries for seniors. And I love that about it, and just getting to travel, see new places, be with people, interact, network, all of those great things. I'd love to be able to do a little bit more of that.
That is so fun. I love being able to travel too. I feel like not only does it kind of, break up the monotony of, the everyday grind, but also it gives you a little bit more of a challenge. Because I do feel like when you photograph in the same location over and over, it just becomes muscle memory, but it's nice to get out and do something new and kind of have that challenging aspect to it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And of course, we have gorgeous scenery here in West Virginia, but a lot of our seniors around here, want to try something new. They want to be a little bit different. And, I'm happy to offer them, that opportunity. I'm willing to pick up and go.
Awesome. I know we've talked a little bit about some of the struggles you've faced of getting into photography, just, paying your dues, learning lighting. Is there anything else that you have found to be somewhat of a struggle?
I would probably say, I mentioned a little bit about balancing time. And I learned that with coaching as well, because, when you coach, you give a lot of yourself to people who aren't your family. Being able to do a little bit more photography and a little bit less coaching has, in a way, I have prioritized my family and our goals, financially. But it is when I'm juggling both at the same time, just being able to make sure that I'm wearing the most important hats, and that's being a wife, a sister, a daughter, an aunt, a friend. And that's probably where I need to do a little bit of a better job for sure.
I love that that's a priority for you, though. That's something I preach all the time is I think it's awesome that we get to capture other people's memories, but we should never forget to create our own. I think that's so important.
Absolutely.
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Or is it something you've even thought about?
Oh, 5 years from now, it's I'm just trying to make it to June, Kathleen. um, but no, 5 years from now, I hope to be in a similar position. I hope to still, be teaching. It's hard to see myself, not in that role, because it's important to me. I love my school family here in Chapmanville. Have a lot of great work friends. I love the kids. I love to see them grow and succeed as students and as athletes, and where they go. I feel like if I lost that connection, it would be, losing just a big part of myself. So there's just some parts of myself that I'm not really willing to let go of. So I'm going to have to, definitely stay true to that. So I still want to be a teacher in 5 years. I don't necessarily enjoy waking up early to be a teacher. That's probably the hardest part, especially after a long shoot. But once I'm there and I've had my coffee, I realize that it's not so bad, and it's where I like to be.
I love that you've been able to integrate all of these different careers. A lot of people who have multiple jobs, there's a separation between the two. They're like, oh, I'm going to go to this job and then I'm going to go to this job. But that's not necessarily the case with you. You're teaching, you're coaching, photography. They just intertwine so beautifully into like one great life.
Yeah, I'm blessed. I can't say that enough. And just, the support of my husband, my staff, the rest of my family, the community, the people that trust me to, capture these memories for them. Like I'm so appreciative of, all the different teams, organizations, everybody. Like it's, they are who has, really built my confidence, and, just their belief in me and their trust. It means a lot.
That's amazing. It truly takes a village. So we've talked about your path into photography. We've talked about kind of where you want to take it. Let's talk about right now. What is something you're excited about at the moment?
At the moment, I'm just really enjoying the new client base that I've built, some new different leads and different places that I've worked with. It's always great to build those and know that there's exciting opportunities out there. And just seeing where these kids go, that's exciting for me. I want to mention, I'm repping UVA Wise softball today. My goddaughter, she plays softball at UVA Wise, and she's a Chapmanville Regional grad. So Chloe, if you're watching this, I'm proud of you. I've got to photograph her and her teammates at Wise, and that's been a lot of fun. That's really probably just what is the best part for me right now is just, being in this moment, seeing people have success around me and just getting to be a small part of that.
That is so amazing. I love your story. I love everything about you. It has been such a pleasure to catch up with you. You've gone from this high school girl that I used to see out on the golf course showing up all the men out there to this truly amazing career woman who's invested into her community, and it's just amazing. Congratulations on all of your success. You deserve every minute of it.
Thank you. And, you as well. I mean, you obviously have been knocking it out of the park. And I think, what you're trying to do for other photographers to help inspire them and give them the confidence to grow like you guys have. I mean, that's top notch. So I'm really proud of you.
You're so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. If anyone wants to connect with you, pick your brain, just kind of reach out to you, what's a good way to get in touch with you?
Facebook, CKG Graphics is my business page. I also have a personal page on there. Feel free to hop on. That's been amazing for me. I have had people reach out from different locations and asking me questions and for advice, and I'm like, wait, me? So I just think that's awesome. And anybody that is interested in getting into this, or if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to hit me up.
Amazing. I love it so much. Thank you for joining me today, and I can't wait to see all the work you do in the future.
Great. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. And that is going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. I will see you next week. Thanks for listening to Off the Memory Card. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you'd like some more support on your photography journey, head over to usethatcamera.com.